Hello, Mary. Going to be reading from Ralph Waldo Emerson today. For quite some time, there's been this thought running around in here that perhaps one of the worst things we can do in this life is work for somebody else, to be an employee. The words I'm about to read here from Emerson doesn't go that far, but there's an element to it that kind of supports that somewhat. Certainly Emerson never worked for anyone else his whole life. And he even left the Unitarian Church. It was a bit too authoritative for him, and it was no doubt one of the most, if not the most liberal churches in the Western Hemisphere. So, at any rate, we'll get started. This is from his essay, Self-Reliance. I'll be doing a little skipping around. I won't point it out as I go. I'll just read. Let us draw a lesson from nature, which always works by short waves. When the fruit is ripe, it falls. When the fruit is dispatched, the leaf falls. The circuit of waters is mere falling. The walking of man and all animals is a falling forward. All our manual labor and works of strength, as prying, splitting, digging, rowing, and so forth, are done by dint of continual falling. And the globe, earth, moon, comets, sun, stars fall forever and ever. A little consideration of what takes place around us every day would show us that a higher law than that of our will regulates events, that our painful labors are unnecessary and fruitless, that only in our easy, simple, spontaneous action are we strong, and by contenting ourselves with obedience, we become divine. Now, by obedience, he's talking about something along the lines of obedience to nature and obedience to truth. Belief and love. A believing love will relieve us of a vast load of care. Oh, my brothers and sisters, the Divine One exists. I'm paraphrasing there. There is a soul at the center of nature and over the will of every man, so that none of us can wrong the universe. It has so infused its strong enchantment into nature that we prosper when we accept its advice, and when we struggle to wound its creatures, our hands are glued to our sides, or they beat our own breasts. The whole course of things goes to teach us faith. We need only obey. There is guidance for each of us, and by lowly listening, we shall hear the right word. Why need you choose so painfully your place and occupation and associates and modes of action and of entertainment? Certainly there is a possible right for you that precludes the need of balance and willful election. For you there is a reality, a fit place, and congenial duties. Place yourself in the middle of the stream of power and wisdom which animates all whom it floats, and you are without effort impelled to truth to right and a perfect contentment. Then you put all gainsayers in the wrong. Then you are the world, the measure of right, of truth, of beauty. If we will not be marplots with our miserable interferences, the work, the societies, letters, arts, science, religion of men would go on far better than now. And the heaven predicted from the beginning of the world, and still predicted from the bottom of the heart, would organize itself, as do now the rose, the air, and the sun. I say do not choose, but that is a figure of speech by which I would distinguish what is commonly called choice among men, which is a partial act, the choice of the hands, of the eyes, of the appetites, and not a whole act of the man. But that which I call right or goodness is the choice of my constitution, and that which I call heaven and inwardly aspire after is the state or circumstance desirable to my constitution, and the action which I in all my years tend to do is the work for my facilities. We must hold a man amenable to reason for the choice of his daily craft or profession. It is not an excuse any longer for his deeds, that they are the custom of his trade. What business has he with an evil trade? Has he not a calling in his character? Each man has his own vocation. The talent is the call. There is one direction in which all space is open to him. He has faculties silently inviting him thither to endless exertion. He is like a ship in the river. He runs against obstructions on every side but one. On that side, all obstruction is taken away, and he sweeps serenely over a deepening channel into an infinite sea. This talent and this call depend on his organization, or the mode in which the general soul incarnates itself in him. He inclines to do something which is easy to him, and good when it is done, but which no other man can do. He has no rival. For the more truly he consults his own powers, the more difference will his work exhibit from the work of any other. His ambition is exactly proportioned to his powers. The height of the pinnacle is determined by the breadth of the base. Every man has this call of the power to do somewhat unique, and no man has any other call. The pretense that he has another call, a summons by name and personal election and outward signs that mark him extraordinary and not in the role of common men, this is fanaticism and betrays obtuseness to perceive that there is one mind in all the individuals and no respect of persons therein. By doing his work, he makes the need felt which he can supply, and creates the taste by which he is enjoyed. By doing his own work, he unfolds himself. It is the vice of our public speaking that it has not abandonment. Somewhere, not only every orator, but every man should let out all the length of his reins, should find or make a frank and hearty expression of what force and meaning is in him. The common experience is that the man fits himself as well as he can to the customary details of that work or trade he falls into, and tends it as a dog turns a spit. Then he is a part of the machine he moves, and the man is lost. Until he can manage to communicate himself to others in his full stature and proportion, he does not yet find his vocation. He must find in that an outlet for his character, so that he may justify his work to their eyes. If the labor is mean, let him, by his thinking and character, make it liberal. Whatever he knows and thinks, whatever in his apprehension is worth doing, let that him communicate, or men will never know and honor him aright. Foolish, whenever you take the meanness and formality of that thing you do, instead of converting it to the obedient spiracle of your character and aims. We like only such actions as have already long had the praise of men, and do not perceive that anything man can do may be divinely done. We think greatness entailed or organized in some places or duties, in certain offices or occasions, and do not see that Paganini can extract rapture from a catgut, or Eulenstein from a Jew's harp, and a nimble-fingered lad out of the shreds of paper with his scissors, and Landseer out of swine, and the hero out of the pitiful habitation and company in which he was hidden. What we call obscure condition or vulgar society is that condition and society whose poetry is not yet written, but which you shall presently make as enviable and renowned as any. In our estimates, let us take a lesson from kings. The parts of hospitality, the connection of families, the impressiveness of death, and 1,000 other things royalty makes its own estimate of, and a royal mind will. To make habitually a new estimate, this is elevation. What a man does, that he has. What has he to do with hope or fear? In himself he is might. Let him regard no good as solid, but that which is in his nature, and which must grow out of him as long as he exists. The goods of fortune may come and go like summer leaves. Let him scatter them on every wind as the momentary signs of his infinite productiveness. He may have his own. A man's genius, the quality that differences him from every other, the susceptibility to one class of influence, the selection of what is fit for him, the rejection of what is unfit, determines for him the character of the universe. A man is a method, a progressive arrangement, a selecting principle, gathering his like to him wherever he goes. Gathering his light to him wherever he goes. What attracts my attention shall have it, as I will go to the man who knocks at my door, while 1,000 persons just as worthy go by it, to whom I give no regard. It is enough that these particulars speak to me. A few anecdotes, a few traits of character, manners, face, a few incidents, have an emphasis in your memory out of all proportion to their apparent significance, if you measure them by the ordinary standards. They relate to your gift. Let them have their weight, and do not reject them, and cast about for illustration and facts more usual in literature. What your heart thinks is great, the soul's emphasis is always right. That's from Ralph Waldo Emerson's essay, Self-Reliance, the first series.